My mom called me while I was standing in line at Target and said something that made my stomach drop. "Take out a loan for me," she said. "Banks trust you. Dish soap, 2 packs of batteries. The off-brand allergy meds I buy because spring always hits me like a truck." I was wearing sweatpants and a hoodie with a coffee stain on the cuff. My phone buzzed and I almost ignored it because it was her, and my body already knew what her name on my screen meant. It meant I was about to pay for something I didn't agree to. I answered anyway. That's the part one hate admitting, even now. "Hey," I said, trying to sound neutral, like I didn't already feel my shoulders tightening. She didn't say hello back. She jumped right in, like she'd been waiting all day to press play on a speech. "I need you to do something for me," Mom said. I exhaled slowly through my nose. In the background, a kid was begging for candy. Someone's cart squeaked like a dying animal. The cashier was chatting about weekend plans. Normal people sounds. My mom's voice dropped into it like a rock. "What is it?" I asked. "Take out a loan," she said, like she was asking me to pick up milk on the way home. For me, I stood there with my thumb hovering over my screen and felt that familiar little dizziness. The one that shows up when someone says something too big too casually. "A loan," I repeated, just to buy time. "What kind of loan?" "A personal loan," she said. "Banks trust you. You have good credit. It'll be easy." The way she said it made my stomach sink. Not because of the money, because of the confidence, the certainty, like she'd already decided the outcome and my only job was to catch up. "Mom," I said carefully, "why do you need me to take out a loan?" "I told you," she snapped. "I need it." That's not an answer. There was a short silence. Not the quiet of thinking, the quiet of her recalibrating, like she was looking for the angle that would get the quickest compliance. "It's for something important," she said. Her voice softened into that fake patience she uses when she wants to act like I'm being difficult. "I'm not going to explain my entire life to you in the middle of a store." "I'm literally in a store," I said. "How do you know where I am?" "I don't," she said, too fast. "That's not the point. The point is, I need you to do this, and I need you to do it soon." Soon. Another word that always means panic. Another word that always means she waited until the last possible second, and now she wants my life to take the impact. I swallowed and looked down at my basket like it could answer for me. "What's the amount?" I asked. 30,000, she said. I actually laughed once. It came out sharp and ugly and louder than I meant. The lady behind me looked over, annoyed. $30,000, I repeated. "Don't start," Mom warned. "Start what?" I said. "Start being a person who doesn't just sign up to owe $30,000 because you said so." Her breath hissed through the phone. "You always do this," she said, like my hesitation was a personality flaw. "You always act like I'm asking for the moon." "You are," I said. "You're asking me to take out debt in my name." "It's not like I'm asking you to donate a kidney," she snapped. The cashier called. "Next," and I stepped forward on autopilot, phone pressed to my ear, heart beating harder than it should have. "Mom," I said again, "I need to know what it's for." Another recalibration. "It's for the house," she said. "What about the house?" "It needs repairs," she said quickly. "Major repairs. The roof. The plumbing. The whole place it's falling apart." I stared at the gum and magazines near the register. The house. The house that she'd been fixing up for the last 10 years with money she never seemed to have. The house that was always an emergency when she needed something and always fine when I asked for details. "Okay," I said. "If it's for repairs, show me the estimates. Show me the contractor quote. The invoice. Something." "Why are you interrogating me?" she shot back. "What kind of child interrogates their mother like this?" A beat. Then she added, softer, weaponizing it. "Do you think I'm lying?" I knew that trick. It's not about the truth. It's about making the conversation about my tone, my attitude, my loyalty, anything except the actual request. "I think you're refusing to answer basic questions," I said. My voice sounded too steady, like I was outside myself. "And you want me to sign paperwork that can ruin me." "Ruin you," she repeated, mocking. "You're so dramatic." The cashier started scanning my items. Beep, beep, beep. I gave her my number for the rewards app with my free hand and tried to keep my face normal. Mom kept talking like she could see through my skull. "You have a stable job," she said. "You always have. You have savings. You have that boyfriend. You'll be fine. I'm your mother. I'm not some stranger." That line always lands like it's supposed to make the request feel safe. Like biology is collateral. My name would be on the loan, I said. And, she said, like it was a stupid detail. I'm the one who'll pay it. I almost asked, are you? But I didn't. Because the truth was, I already knew the answer. When I was 19, she talked me into opening a credit card for emergencies. She said it would help me build credit. I was a broke college kid who believed adults knew how money worked. She took the card just in case, maxed it out within 2 months on home decor and a few things for my brother, and then cried when I asked about payments. She didn't say she wouldn't pay. She said she couldn't. Not right now. Just until she got back on her feet. She never got back on her feet. She just found a new surface to stand on. It took me 3 years to pay that card off. I didn't tell anyone. I learned to swallow shame and eat ramen like it was penance. So hearing her say, I'm the one who'll pay it, didn't comfort me. It made my skin crawl. The cashier told me my total. I tapped my card, staring at the little screen, while my mom waited. Mom, I said, low. I'm not doing anything until I see what this is for. Her voice changed. The mask slipped. Just a little. So you're saying no? She said. I'm saying I need information, I replied. And time. She laughed like I'd made a joke. You don't get time, she said. I need this handled. Handled, I repeated. My grip tightened on the phone. You know what? She said, suddenly louder. Fine. If you want information, come over. Tonight. I'll show you. I hesitated. The part of me that had spent my childhood smoothing her moods knew what come over meant. It meant being cornered. It meant her house, her territory, her voice filling every room. I can come tomorrow, I said. No, she snapped. Tonight. You always put me off. You always act like I'm some burden. You don't understand what it's like to be alone and have everything on your shoulders. My throat closed. There it was. The guilt script. The martyrdom. The thing she could recite in her sleep. I'm not putting you off, I said. I'm setting boundaries. Boundaries, she repeated, like the word tasted bitter. That's what your boyfriend taught you. All these therapy words. Evan. There it was. The second script. If I became harder to control, it had to be someone else's fault. I kept my voice even. Evan didn't teach me that debt is real. Reality taught me. She made a small sound. Like a scoff, but with poison in it. Come over, she said again. If you're going to act like I'm some criminal, you can at least look me in the face while you do it. I could have hung up right there. I should have. But some part of me still believed if I could just be calm enough, rational enough, she'd hear me. That's the oldest lie I have. Okay, I said. Tonight. Good, she said instantly, relief cutting through like she'd won a point. Bring your pay stubs. I froze. My what? Your pay stubs, she repeated, impatient. And your ID. And bring your social, if you have it. I want to be ready. Ready for what? I felt the air leave my lungs and come back in colder. Why would you need my pay stubs? I asked. For the loan application, she said, like I was slow. Banks need proof of income. Do you think they just hand out money to anyone? I haven't agreed to a loan, I said, my voice sharper than before. You're coming over, aren't you? She said, sweetly now. So bring what I said. It's not that hard. The cashier handed me my bag and said, have a nice day. I nodded, mouth tight, and walked out into the parking lot where the sun hit my eyes and made everything too bright. Mom, I said, standing between rows of cars. Did you already start this process? What process? She said. The loan, I said. Did you already talk to a bank? Did you already fill anything out? There was a pause. A single heartbeat too long. I did some research, she said. Because I'm not stupid. I called around. I asked questions. That's what adults do. My stomach turned. I heard my own voice, smaller than I wanted. Did you give them my information? Don't be ridiculous, she said quickly. I don't have your information. But I knew she did. She'd kept copies of everything when I was younger. Birth certificate. Social. Old tax forms. For safekeeping. She had a file cabinet full of the stuff she used to remind us she owned our beginnings. You're overreacting, she said, sensing my silence. You always do this. You act like I'm some kind of monster because I asked my child for help. Other people help their parents. Do you know how many people would jump at the chance to pay their mother back? Pay her back. For what? The childhood she chose to have. The motherhood she performed for applause. I felt something inside me tighten, like a knot that had been there for years finally being pulled. I'll come tonight, I said, but I'm not promising anything. She sighed dramatically. Fine, she said. Just don't embarrass me. Embarrass you? I repeated. Yes, she said, and there was that edge again. I told Denise you were helping. And Kyle. And if you show up acting like I'm trying to rob you, you'll make me look bad. There it was. The real reason she wanted tonight. Not because of urgency, because she'd already set the stage and now she needed me to play my part. My phone pressed tighter against my ear. You told them I agreed? I said you were going to do the right thing, she snapped. Because I raised you better than this. I stared at my car and felt my hands shaking. Mom, I said, each word deliberate. Don't tell people I agreed to something I haven't agreed to. She laughed again, but there was anger underneath it now. Just come over, she said. We'll talk like adults. I wanted to say, we never talk like adults. You talk like a queen issuing orders, and I talk like a hostage negotiating terms. But all I said was, I'll be there. Good, she said. 7. Then she hung up. I stood there in the parking lot with my grocery bag cutting into my fingers and realized my heart was racing like I'd just escaped something. I got into my car and sat for a full minute without turning it on, staring straight ahead. When I finally drove home, I didn't even put the groceries away first. I walked into the living room, and Evan looked up from the couch, took one look at my face, and straightened. What happened? He asked. I didn't want to say it out loud. Saying it out loud makes it real. Makes it something I have to deal with instead of something I can delay. My mom called, I said. Evan's expression didn't change much. He just nodded once, like he was bracing. And, he said gently. I swallowed. She wants me to take out a loan for her. I said. 30,000. Evan blinked. No. Just one word. Simple. Clean. No negotiation. No guilt. I almost laughed, except it felt like crying. I told her I need details. I said quickly, like I was trying to justify myself. She says it's for the house, but she's vague, and she wants me to come over tonight and bring my pay stubs and ID, and Evan's jaw tightened. She wants your documents, he said. Yeah, I whispered. He leaned forward, forearms on his knees. That's not a conversation, he said. That's a setup. I stared at the floor. My chest felt tight, like my ribs were pressing inward. I know, I said. But she already told people I'm helping. Evan's eyes lifted to mine. She did that on purpose, he said. I know. I repeated, and this time my voice cracked. Evan was quiet for a second. Then he said, Do you want me to come with you? The question hit me harder than I expected. Not because I wanted backup, because I realized how alone I always felt when it came to her. She'll hate that, I said automatically. Evan's mouth twitched in something that wasn't a smile. She doesn't get to decide who you bring into your life, he said. Not anymore. I swallowed again, my throat burning. I'm scared, I admitted, and hated myself for it instantly. Not of her physically, of what she does to the air in a room. The way she makes you doubt your own spine. Evan nodded slowly, like he understood exactly what that meant. Okay, he said. Then we do this smart. We. I repeated. He stood up. First, he said, you're not bringing your documents. Not your social, not your pay stubs, nothing. If she asks, you tell her no. I opened my mouth, already feeling the panic. The arguments. The screaming. The fallout. Evan held up a hand. Second, he said, before you go, you check your credit. Right now. My stomach dropped. Why? I asked, but I already knew. Evan's voice was calm. Too calm. Because the way she said banks trust you doesn't sound like an idea she had 5 minutes ago, he said. It sounds like a plan. The word plan landed with weight. I stared at my phone on the coffee table like it might bite. Okay, I said quietly. Evan sat back down beside me and pulled his laptop closer. Let's check, he said. And as I unlocked my phone, a thought slid in, cold and quiet. What if this isn't her first attempt? What if tonight isn't about convincing me? What if tonight is about finishing something she already started? Evan didn't say anything while the credit report loaded. That silence felt heavier than if he had started talking immediately. The laptop fan hummed softly on the coffee table, and the little loading circle on the screen spun like it had all the time in the world. I didn't. My hands were sweating. You're probably overthinking it, I said, even though I didn't believe it. She's chaotic, but she's not criminal. Evan glanced at me, but didn't answer right away. Your mom doesn't think about things in terms of rules, he said finally. She thinks in terms of outcomes. That's not the same thing, I muttered. He looked back at the screen. Sometimes it is. The report finished loading. For a second, I didn't look. I just sat there staring at the table like if I delayed one more breath, one more heartbeat, reality might decide to be kind. Then Evan scrolled. Accounts. Cards. History. Everything looked normal at first. The 2 credit cards I actually use. My car loan from years ago that I'd already paid off. Student loans slowly dying their long, boring death. Nothing unusual. My shoulders loosened a little. See? I said quietly. It's fine. Evan didn't respond. He was still scrolling. What? I asked. He turned the screen slightly toward me and pointed. Hard inquiry, he said. I leaned closer. There it was. 3 days ago. A bank I'd never contacted. My chest tightened. That's weird, I said. Evan nodded once. Another one, he said. He scrolled. 2 days ago. Different lender. My stomach dropped. I didn't apply for anything, I said. I know, Evan said. He kept scrolling. There was a third inquiry. Yesterday. A loan company I'd never even heard of. For a moment, my brain refused to process it. It just stared at the dates like they were random numbers. Then the timeline snapped together. 3 days ago. 2 days ago. Yesterday. My mom had called today. My voice came out thin. How do they have my information? Evan didn't sugarcoat it. Either someone stole your identity, he said, or someone who already had your information used it. My chest started to feel tight in a way that had nothing to do with panic and everything to do with something colder. Something deliberate. She has copies of my documents, I said slowly. Evan's eyes lifted. How many? He asked. Everything, I said. Birth certificate, social security card, old tax returns, driver's license copies. My mom kept records like she was running a government archive. For safety, she always said. For control. Evan leaned back and rubbed the back of his neck. Okay, he said. We're freezing your credit. Right now? I asked. Yes, right now. The words felt surreal. Freezing my credit. Like I was preparing for some cybercrime thriller. But this wasn't a hacker in another country. This was my mother. The realization made my stomach twist. While Evan pulled up the first credit bureau site, I stared at my phone. 7 o'clock. Dinner at her house. She thought tonight was the moment I'd walk in and sign my life away. And maybe she thought I wouldn't even question it. Should I cancel? I asked. Evan shook his head slowly. No, he said. You should go. I looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Why? Because she thinks she already has momentum, he said. And people like your mom hate losing momentum in front of witnesses. My throat tightened. You mean Denise and Kyle? And whoever else she invited, he said. I hadn't thought of that. But the more I considered it, the more it made sense. My mom didn't like private negotiations. She liked audiences. Audiences meant pressure. Audiences meant shame. God, I muttered. Evan kept typing. First bureau done, he said. 2 more. I leaned back on the couch and rubbed my face. The past started replaying itself whether I wanted it to or not. Little things. Little weird things. 2 months ago, she'd asked for my address for paperwork. Last Christmas, she'd asked me to text her a picture of my driver's license because she needed to fill out family emergency forms. A year ago, she asked casually if I still had the same employer. At the time, it all felt random. Now it felt like data collection. You okay? Evan asked. I nodded automatically. No, I said a second later. He finished the credit freeze process and closed the laptop. Okay, he said. Now we wait. For what? For her to realize something changed, he said. The room felt suddenly quiet. My phone buzzed. Mom. Of course. I stared at the screen like it was radioactive. Answer it, Evan said. I picked up. What? I said. She didn't greet me. Did you gather your documents? She asked immediately. No. A pause. What do you mean no? She said. I mean, I'm not bringing my pay stubs or my social security card, I said calmly. Her voice sharpened instantly. Why not? Because I haven't agreed to a loan. Silence. The dangerous kind. Then she laughed. Not real laughter. The kind that means a storm is forming. You're being ridiculous again, she said. I'm being careful, I said. You're being paranoid, she snapped. I checked my credit report, I said. That did it. The silence on the other end turned solid. Like a wall. What does that have to do with anything? She asked slowly. There are 3 loan inquiries, I said. Another pause. Then her voice came back smooth. Oh, that, she said dismissively. That's probably just marketing. I blinked. Marketing? Yes, she said confidently. Banks do that all the time. Evan mouthed wow from the couch. Hard inquiries don't happen from marketing, I said. Well, how should I know? She snapped. You're the one who acts like a financial expert. Did you apply for loans using my information? I asked. Her voice hardened. You're accusing me now? I'm asking. You're accusing, she repeated. I'm asking a question. You're attacking me, she said, voice rising. After everything I've done for you. There it was again. The script. The ancient script. I closed my eyes. Mom, I said slowly. Did you give anyone my information? She exploded. I am your mother, she shouted. The volume made me pull the phone away from my ear. I carried you for 9 months, she continued. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. And now you're talking to me like I'm some criminal who stole your wallet. I asked a question. And I answered, she snapped. You didn't. You don't deserve an answer with that attitude, she said. Evan shook his head slowly. I felt my pulse thumping behind my eyes. You told people I agreed to this loan? I said. Yes, she said bluntly. Why? Because you will, she said. The confidence in her voice chilled me. You don't get to decide that, I said. Yes, I do, she replied. The words hit like a slap. You owe me. The sentence hung there. Heavy. Ugly. I felt something inside me shift. What do I owe you? I asked quietly. She scoffed. Your life, she said. Your education. Your childhood. The roof over your head. I almost laughed again. The roof she was now trying to leverage $30,000 for. You chose to have a child, I said. Don't start with that therapy garbage, she snapped. Children aren't investments, I said. Oh, please, she said. Every child pays their parents back eventually. My stomach turned. Not with fraud, I said. Another long pause. Then her voice dropped into something cold. You're coming tonight, she said. Yes. And you're not going to embarrass me. That depends, I said. Her breathing got heavier. Denise is already here, she said. Of course she was. Kyle too. Of course he was. And I told them you were helping because you love your family. I rubbed my temple. You shouldn't have done that. You're not going to make me look like a liar, she said. You already did that yourself. Her voice turned icy. You've changed, she said. No, I replied. I have. She hung up. The silence afterward felt thick. Evan leaned back. Well, he said, that escalated. I stared at the dark phone screen. She thinks public pressure will force me to sign, I said. Probably. She's wrong. Evan nodded slowly. I know, he said. I stood up and grabbed my jacket. You're really going, he said. Yes. You want me there? I hesitated. My mom would hate it. She would accuse me of bringing backup. She would say he was controlling me. She would turn it into a circus. But maybe that circus was already happening. Yeah, I said finally. Come. Evan grabbed his keys. Okay, he said. We walked to the door together. And for the first time in my life, driving to my mother's house didn't feel like visiting family. It felt like walking into a courtroom where the verdict had already been announced. I just hadn't heard it yet. The drive to my mom's house took 15 minutes. It felt like an hour. Neither Evan nor I talked much. The road was familiar enough that I could drive it on muscle memory, but everything felt slightly distorted. The streetlights looked too bright. Every red light felt like the universe asking if I was sure I wanted to keep going. You can leave at any point, Evan said quietly from the passenger seat. I know. You don't owe her a performance. I know. But I still kept driving. My mom's house sat at the end of a short cul-de-sac, the same place I grew up. Same cracked driveway. Same crooked mailbox that had leaned slightly to the left for as long as I could remember. The porch light was on. 2 extra cars were in the driveway. Denise's SUV. Kyle's old sedan. Exactly as expected. My mom always loved staging. I parked at the curb instead of the driveway. Evan noticed. Strategic exit, he said. Yeah. We walked up the path together. The closer we got to the front door, the more I could hear voices inside. Laughter. Plates clinking. Dinner. Of course. She hadn't just invited people. She'd built an entire setting around it. The door opened before we even knocked. My mom stood there smiling like a hostess greeting guests. Oh good, she said brightly. You made it. Then she saw Evan behind me. The smile twitched. You brought him. Yes, I said. Well, she said after a beat. I suppose that's fine. Her voice said it wasn't. We stepped inside. Denise sat at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. Kyle was leaning against the counter scrolling through his phone. The table was already set. Food everywhere. Like a family holiday. Denise looked up and smiled. There you are, she said. Your mom said you were coming to help. My stomach tightened. Mom stepped behind me and closed the door with a soft click. Sit, she said sweetly. I stayed standing. So, I said calmly, before we pretend this is dinner, let's talk about why I'm here. Denise blinked. Kyle slowly looked up from his phone. My mom's smile stiffened. Oh, please, she said lightly. Can we not start with drama? You told everyone I agreed to take out a loan for you, I said. Denise glanced between us. Well, you are helping, right? She said cautiously. My mom sighed like she was exhausted already. This is exactly what I meant, she said. You come in here with that attitude. What attitude? I asked. The hostile one, she snapped. Like I dragged you here in chains. No, I said. You dragged my credit score here. Kyle let out a quiet damn under his breath. My mom shot him a glare. Don't start, she said. Then she turned back to me. We're family, she said firmly. Families help each other. Families don't take out loans in other people's names without permission, I replied. Denise frowned slightly. Wait, she said slowly. What do you mean without permission? My mom's head snapped toward her. Nothing, she said quickly. Yes, I said. Her eyes shot back to me. Don't you dare start spreading lies in my own house. I checked my credit report, I said. Silence fell over the room. Denise's glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Kyle lowered his phone completely. There are 3 loan inquiries, I continued. My mom laughed loudly. Oh my God, she said. You're still stuck on that. Yes. They're just inquiries, she scoffed. That's not a crime. Did you submit them? She didn't answer. Mom. She crossed her arms. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. That's not an answer. Her eyes hardened. You're humiliating me in front of my family. Denise shifted uncomfortably. Kyle rubbed the back of his neck. I stayed calm. Did you give a lender my personal information? My mom's voice rose. I did what any mother would do. That wasn't a yes. But it wasn't a no either. Denise's eyebrows shot up. Wait, she said. Did you apply for loans using their name? It's not like that, Mom snapped. Then explain it, I said. She pointed at me. Because you refused to help. I refused to sign $30,000 of debt. You refused to help your own mother, she corrected. Evan finally spoke. Helping doesn't involve identity fraud. My mom turned on him instantly. Stay out of this, she barked. He's here because I invited him, I said. You only invited him because he's been poisoning you against your family. Evan just leaned against the wall and folded his arms. That's convenient, he said. You think you're clever, she snapped. But I know exactly what you are. And what's that, he asked. The reason my child suddenly thinks they're too good for their own mother. I laughed quietly. That's not why, I said. Then why, she demanded. The room was very still. For the first time that night, I let the truth out without cushioning it. Because I realized you see me as a bank account, I said. Her face flushed instantly. That's disgusting, she said. No, I replied. What's disgusting is applying for loans using my information. Denise slowly set her wine glass down. You actually did that? She asked my mom. Mom's voice got sharp. I was securing options. Using my identity. I was making sure you didn't sabotage this, she snapped. Kyle stared at her. You used their social? Don't exaggerate, she said. That's not exaggerating, I replied. Her eyes were blazing now. You owe me, she said again. There it was. The core of it. You think raising a child means they become your financial backup plan. Yes, she said. The bluntness stunned the room. You're supposed to take care of me, she continued. That's how families work. No, I said. That's how control works. Her hands slammed onto the table. I gave you everything. You gave me a childhood, I said. Exactly. That's not a debt. It is in my house. I looked around the room. At Denise's stunned face. At Kyle's pale expression. Then back at my mom. I froze my credit, I said. The words landed like a grenade. Her expression shifted instantly. What? I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. Her face drained of color. You what? No more loan applications, I said calmly. Not from me. Not from you. Not from anyone. For a second, she looked genuinely panicked. Then the anger came back twice as strong. You ungrateful little. No, I said sharply. The word cut through her sentence like a blade. She stopped. I'd never interrupted her like that before. Listen carefully, I said. The room was silent. If any lender contacts me again because of something you submitted, I will report it. Her mouth fell open. You wouldn't dare. I absolutely would. You'd call the police on your own mother? If I have to. Her face twisted with rage. You're destroying this family. No, I said quietly. You are. She pointed toward the door. Get out. I didn't move. Gladly, I said. But before turning away, I looked at Denise and Kyle. I never agreed to that loan, I said calmly. And I never will. Denise nodded slowly. Kyle just looked tired. Then I turned back to my mom. This stops now, I said. Her voice came out low and venomous. You'll regret this. Maybe, but not for the reasons she thought. I walked to the door. Evan opened it. The night air hit my face like cold water. And for the first time in years, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not peace. Not yet. But the beginning of it. Behind us, the door slammed. Hard. And that sound felt like the closing of something that had been cracking for decades. The drive home was quiet. Not the heavy silence from earlier. Not the kind that sits in your chest like a stone. This one felt different. Like the silence after a storm when the air still smells like rain and broken branches. But the sky is starting to clear. Evan didn't start the car right away. We both just sat there in the dark for a minute. You okay? He asked. The question sounded simple, but it hit deeper than I expected. I opened my mouth to answer automatically, the way people do when they don't want to think about it. But the truth came out instead. I don't know. He nodded slowly, like that made sense. Because it did. I felt lighter. But I also felt like something had been ripped out of my chest and left behind on that kitchen floor. You can feel relief and grief at the same time. Turns out they're not opposites. They live side by side. We drove home. When we got inside, I sat down on the couch and just stared at the wall for a while. My brain kept replaying the moment she realized I froze my credit. That flash of panic before the anger came back. For the first time in my life, she'd lost control of the situation. And she knew it. My phone buzzed. Mom. Of course. I let it ring. Then it buzzed again. And again. 6 calls in 5 minutes. Then the text started. Mom. I cannot believe you humiliated me like that. Mom. Your aunt thinks I committed fraud now. Mom. You're letting that man turn you against your own family. Evan glanced over from the kitchen. You don't have to read those, he said. I know. But I did anyway. Because some part of me still wanted to see if she would change course. If maybe, just maybe, she'd realize what she'd done and apologize. The next message answered that question. Mom. If you had just cooperated, none of this would have happened. I exhaled slowly. There it was. Not regret. Not reflection. Just blame. Another message came through. Mom. You froze your credit like a paranoid idiot. Now I can't fix the house, and it will be your fault when everything falls apart. I locked the phone. That was the moment something inside me finally clicked into place. Not anger. Clarity. For years I treated every conflict with my mom like a misunderstanding. Like if I could just explain things clearly enough, calmly enough, logically enough, she'd eventually understand. But tonight made one thing obvious. She understood perfectly. She just didn't care. Evan set a glass of water in front of me and sat down. What are you thinking? He asked. I stared at the dark phone screen in my hand. I'm thinking this doesn't stop here. He nodded once. No, he said. It won't. People like my mom don't give up when a door closes. They try the window, then the back door. Then they start sending other people to knock. It didn't even take an hour. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Denise. I hesitated before answering. Hello. Denise sounded tired. Hey, she said quietly. I waited. I didn't know about the loan applications, she said. I figured. She told us you already agreed. Denise continued. That you were just coming tonight to finalize things. I almost laughed. That sounds like her. Denise sighed. You should probably know something, she said. My stomach tightened. What? She talked to a lender while we were there, Denise said. When? Earlier today, she replied. Before you came over. The knot in my chest twisted tighter. What did she say? Denise hesitated. She said the paperwork might take a few days because her child was dragging their feet. I closed my eyes. So the plan had been moving forward even while she was yelling at me about loyalty. Thank you for telling me, I said quietly. Just be careful, Denise said. I will. When I hung up, Evan was watching me. She's not done, I said. No, he replied. But strangely, I wasn't scared anymore. Just tired. The next morning I did 3 things. First, I called the banks listed on my credit report and confirmed that I had not submitted any loan applications. Each of them flagged the inquiries and documented the situation. Second, I placed a fraud alert on my credit profile. Third, I wrote my mom a message. It took a while. Not because the words were hard to find. Because I wanted them to be final. I read it twice before sending it. Then I pressed send. Mom, you used my personal information to apply for loans without my permission. That crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. From this point forward, do not use my name, my documents, or my identity for anything. Do not contact me again. If you attempt to apply for credit using my information or pressure me for money again, I will report it. This decision is final. I stared at the message for a few seconds. Then I blocked her number. The quiet afterward was strange. Not empty, just quiet. Over the next few days, the flying monkeys appeared exactly like Evan predicted. Kyle texted once. Kyle, she's really upset. I replied. Me? I know. He didn't message again. Denise sent a short note telling me she hoped things calmed down eventually. But my mom never reached me directly again. She tried once through email, another time through a cousin. Once she even mailed a letter to my apartment that just said, "Families forgive." I didn't respond. Because forgiveness isn't the same thing as access. Weeks passed, then months. The strangest part wasn't the silence. It was how normal life started to feel. The tension I'd carried for years slowly drained away. No surprise phone calls demanding money. No guilt trips disguised as family emergencies. No constant pressure to prove I was a good child. Just quiet. One night months later, Evan and I were sitting on the balcony watching the city lights when he asked something I hadn't really thought about. Do you regret it? I took a long breath before answering. Because the truth was complicated. I regret that it had to happen, I said. But not the decision. He nodded. That makes sense. I leaned back in the chair and looked up at the night sky. For most of my life, I believed something simple. That if I tried hard enough, I could eventually earn a peaceful relationship with my mother. That one day she would see me as a person instead of a resource. That one day the fighting would stop because we finally understood each other. But the truth was harder than that. Some people don't want understanding. They want control. And the moment you stop giving it to them, they call that betrayal. The last thing my mom ever said to me in person was, "You'll regret this." Maybe she believes that. Maybe she always will. But every time I check my credit report and see that nothing new has appeared, every quiet morning without a guilt-filled voicemail, every normal dinner where no one is trying to manipulate me into debt, I realize something. Cutting someone out of your life doesn't feel like victory. It feels like removing a splinter that's been buried in your skin for years. It hurts when it comes out, but once it's gone, you finally understand how much pain it was causing and how much peace was waiting underneath.